Bashing your head against a wall burns 150 calories per hour. Greetings gamers and welcome back to Top 10 Gaming. I'm your host Connor Monroe, and we get red eyes in pictures because our pupil is just a hole and the flash reflects the blood in the back of your eyes. Man, isn't that great? Creepypastas are everywhere, about games already made, some are already games, and some are about games that are already scary, but you like them enough for a part 2. But what are some creepypastas that aren't about games, but should become their own? That's what we're exploring with today's list of the top 10 creepypastas that should be games. Roll the intro. And at 10, Goatman. The Goatman technically already has a game, but considering the reviews, I think it needs another. The Goatman is a humanoid goat-demon hybrid of sorts that typically resides in Louisiana, Maryland, or Texas. The thing is tall at 7 foot, but Shaq is still taller. The story follows a teenager who goes to Alabama to be with family, but he, his cousins, and their friends end up going camping in the woods. That's a great idea. While out there, they see a strange figure making jerky movements and making incoherent noises while it follows them. The rest of their night is spent terrified as the Goatman slowly wears them down, scaring them into paranoia. I think this could be a wonderful co-op game. The one I mentioned is co-op, but it's about finding the Goatman. I think it should be similar to the original story, where you must try and survive the AI Goatman with your friends. It could be a wonderfully terrifying experience and a great true survival horror game. We really need more true survival horrors. And at 9, the Russian sleep experiment. Shortly after a great tragedy, 5 political prisoners are subjected to an experiment. They must remain awake for 30 days straight while sealed in a tank with some form of gas. These subjects begin to lose their minds, as well as gaining a few things as well, such as a hunger for their own flesh, a need for the gas as if it was a narcotic, and extreme aggression that resulted in the deaths of 2 guards directly. But after seeing what had become of the subjects within only 15 days, 5 other guards ended their own lives. I think as a form of extreme horror game this would work extremely well. I was light on the details for a very good reason. The original is gruesome and gory, so if you want a whole picture, just read it yourself. I think that this story would make a good game if you were playing from the perspective of the guards, not the prisoners, because the prisoners just sit around all day going crazy. I relate. We're all prisoners of our own mind after all, am I right? You can see the toll the Sonic videos have taken on me. And at 8, persuaded. Zombies are a form of universal communication. They are typically created by a virus that causes humans to turn into flesh-eating monsters who need to bite or scratch the individual to spread the disease. But what if the disease had started with an oil spill that causes everyone it touched to turn into vicious beasts that attack any other living creature? The protagonist of the story barricades himself in his apartment, just waiting for the horde of crazed citizens to come barreling through the door and tear him apart. But he ends up wishing that it had happened, instead of the 2-day-long nightmare that he gets instead. This would make for a wonderful suspense game, just waiting for your inevitable end, but it not coming. The game could constantly update missions, provide ominous sounds, and just the occasional jump scare outside the window if you look directly at it, or if you decide to look for anyone on their way. The game could be spectacular if done right and would be a welcomed addition to the creepypasta arsenal. And at 7, Anora Petrova. Have you ever Googled yourself? No, I mean looked yourself up on Google, oh my god. Well, Anora Petrova did. When she did, she was one of the most promising figure skaters in the US. But when she found a wiki page that was able to predict her future, everything went wrong. When she tried to change an outcome she didn't like, the outcome was not as expected. Her life spirals out of control and she ends up a friendless orphan. The concept of this creepypasta may seem poor in game, but what if the game was a wiki page that you were actively trying to alter? It could be along the lines of a hacker battle, constantly fighting against the wiki page to change things to the way you want it. It could have multiple endings, a good one and a couple of bad ones, where the game tells you what happened after you've closed the page, and maybe a secret one if you decide to close the page right away, because you didn't do anything. You just keep on going. But now that I've told you, it won't really be a secret. And at 6, NoEnd House. If you would earn $500 for surviving a trip to a 9-room horror house that they describe as 9 rooms of torture, would you do it? The narrator of the story seems to accept the challenge with ease, not knowing the potential trauma and death that are on the other side. The rooms become increasingly more sinister and evil, bordering on psychotic, pushing the limits of David's humanity and sanity. The rooms in this game would work so well. The things that happen in these rooms could only be further amplified in a video game, as experiencing it in person is different than reading about another person doing this. However, can you imagine how scary this game would be in VR? Like, I know I say that almost every list that I talk about games that should exist, but holy crap. You walk into a room and you turn around and you see a little girl as well as a demon laying on the ground. Then you have to somehow make a door to get to the next room while the monsters are screaming. Ha! It would be so horrifying, but such a good game for VR and just normal, and even just a normal PC version. Oh, although VR would make more sense with the story of the creepypasta, I'm gonna stick to that, but still, do it. And in 5 doors. This would make for an interesting game. If you're not already familiar, the story of Doors revolves around a family and the young male narrator who talks about their daily life, when all of a sudden the house gets attacked by a crazed, mysterious man who the protagonist does his best to stop. The story is known for the plot twist, and while it may not be that big of a game, it could be similar to Don't Trust the Game, something I played recently on the channel, or just an experience that would chill you even to the most hidden of your bones. Giving away anything else would potentially ruin the surprise, so go read it for yourself. But I did guess the surprise rate basically right off the bat, so who knows. Maybe it's not that well hidden. But read the story and let me know if you think that it could be a good game and what kind of game it would be, because I'm genuinely curious. And for the Rake. The Rake is popular. Not as popular as others like Slenderman, but definitely just as creepy. The creature was created for 4chan's Make Your Own Monster thread. The description was no apparent mouth, pale skin, I relate, 6 feet tall while standing, but is usually crouching and walking on all fours, no nose, and no mouth. Eventually, this creeper rose through the ranks, becoming the center of many a creepypasta, ghost story, and even Roblox games. But we need a true, genuine horror game for this guy. Imagine an Outlast sort of situation where the character can only see with night vision, recreating a similar feel to the original image, and you need to escape the forest in some capacity, but not by finding 8 pages, and I think you should genuinely be able to escape, not like the Slenderman game, because at the end of that game you just die. And make it difficult for decent replayability, and to make sure YouTubers keep making videos about it until they actually escape. And make sure that you have the scene from the original image, otherwise it's wasted potential. And at 3, Petscop. The scariest game you'll never play. That's Petscop's tagline. If you haven't heard of Petscop, it's an internet creepypasta that is currently ongoing. The series of YouTube videos covering the subject started back in March of 2017, with the channel called Petscop and the game called Petscop. The game seems to be an old PlayStation game that never got finished, who the player Paul says he found. It starts off like a Pokemon ripoff, trying to find various creatures and trap them, but then evolves into something more sinister and haunting. When you start having to capture kids, you really start to realize this game was meant to expose a killer. Game Theory has a series going with these games, and there has been 24 parts of the actual Petscop series. It seems like the creator is continuing the game as he codes it. This allows him to adapt the story in any way he chooses. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it, but I also recommend that this becomes a real game. You have the code, and you have a playable game because you're playing it on YouTube. All you need to do is finish it and release it. Plenty of people would buy it. I would. Plus, you don't really need to finish it. All you need to do is finish the story you intended, and then you're good. And at 2, Tales from the Gas Station. Tales from the Gas Station is a series of creepypastas that are supposedly based on the protagonist's experiences while working at a gas station on the edge of his town. Plenty of odd things happen, like ghosts, the family of drugged up raccoons, the constant demonic presence, you know, the usual. But no matter what the day, the only full-time employee records it in a journal and posts it all for us to see. This would be a really interesting game, something along the lines of Papers, Please or Job Simulator, where you stand still, let the things happen in front of you, and then just react. By taking their money, you're getting them what they want behind the counter, because the protagonist seems fairly unfazed by what's going on. It could be similar to Don't Let Go, where you just watch everything until a spider jumps on your face. Yeah, not cool. Sorry, tangent. It should be a game, I sure as hell would play it. Or they could release updates like installments, like how the creepypasta was released in several parts. Do it. Do it. Finally, in at number 1, Jeff the Killer. This game could work as either an origin story or a multiplayer game like Dead by Daylight. If you were to do an origin story, it would be a simple linear experience where you play through the story of how the creepypasta happened. However, I think the real potential lies in the possible multiplayer mode. If you were to have, let's say, 4 characters as survivors, typical multiplayer survival horror mode, in a house that would basically be a family home, you could do wonderful things. Multiple houses, and the killer, who would be Jeff, would just need to sneak in and cut them down one by one. He would be able to hide in closets or become almost invisible when standing still when nobody could see him, and he could have the ability to say just go to sleep, which would freeze a player in their bed, which could be a potential health regenerator or something like that to provide incentive to actually go to bed. Jeff could then easily dispatch of that person, but obviously as a multiplayer game the player could call out where he was to the rest of the family if they had a microphone, and then they could try and flee, because you know that's what you do. If there's a killer in your house, get the hell out. This has a lot of potential, and I've clearly thought quite a lot about it, so make it happen and I will pay you all my money. It's like $5, but It's all of it. There we have it, friends, the top 10 creepypastas that should be games. Are there any creepypastas you'd like to become games, or any games about these creepypastas I didn't know about? Let me know below, and on your way down, be sure you hit like and subscribe for daily gaming content and ring that bell to join the clan and level up. I don't have any memes today because nobody sent me any, so I guess I'll just sign off. I'm not salty at all. Thank you all so much for watching. I have been in Charlemagne Connor Monroe, and I'll see you in another video.